I've been serving at Defense Staff College for more than 8 years, on and off. But from there I went to South Africa again as a directing staff. It's called exchange directing staff. South Africans send their directing staff over here, and we send also directing staff in to South Africa, which is called the exchange program. I served in South Africa for 2 years. I came back to the Navy, and I served again in operations as a Staff Officer 1 operation in the naval or maritime domain. Staff Officer 1 in maritime operation, you're looking at security, the national security, the security of the sea, of aggression from outside. You're looking at how you're going to secure your territory plus economic exclusive zones, that is 200 nautical miles, with little resources you have. So there's a lot of analysis which is there, and risks involved. Operations also, we look at internal operations also, not only from the outside aggression, but also you're looking at internal aggression, because the military also, in its second role, you're looking at internal security, and its primary role is external security. So in the national security, as you can see, it has two characters. It has an external character and an internal character. Then from there I became I went to another logistics office where I served. Later on I was sent back to Defense Staff College to be a trainer again. So I've done a lot of training here and there. From that place, because I had a background of engineering, I was also sent back again. I was sent to Defense Kenya Armed Forces Technical College in Embakasi as a senior instructor, and later on as a chief instructor. We train people over there in certificate and diploma level in avionics, marine engineering, etc. From there then, I was posted to go, and I served over there for over 2 years. Then I went to serve at the Eastern Africa Standby Force. It's an organization, it's a mechanism which does not follow under any regional economic bloc. When you look at other areas like ECOWAS, that mechanism falls under ECOWAS. You look at the northern part of Africa, you find they fall under that regional economic bloc. Even in SADC, this mechanism is the only one in Africa which does not fall under any regional mechanism or economic bloc. Let's take for example, it doesn't fall under IGAD, it doesn't fall under East African Community, it doesn't fall under Great Lakes region, etc. So it's alone. It's members who contribute over there and contribute also staff. You have the military part of it, then you have a civilian part, then you have the police part. It's a multi-dimensional organization with civilian plus uniform personnel. From there, I also went to National Defense College, which the other day was given a charter which is called now National Defense University. I did the same thing, and there you do the national security and strategy and security course. At the same time, you do also, those ones who qualify, they do the Masters of Arts in International Studies. This one was conducted by University of Nairobi. After finishing there, I went back to Defense Headquarters on training again. I was in charge of training at Defense Headquarters. From there, the last posting I had, I served under ceasefire, transitional security arrangement, monitoring and verification mechanism. This is a mechanism which has been created by IGAD. It is a mechanism which works in South Sudan. After the 2017 conflicts between the government forces and the rebel forces, they sat together and they came up with mechanisms of how they're going to transit from conflict to a peaceful elected government. So this mechanism is one of the mechanisms which monitor whatever they had agreed. I serve over there as the chief of logistics, but also as a principal staff officer of the director of a CITISAM, whereby with my background of operations administration, I also helped in operations. You know, it's a multinational mechanism where you get people from IGAD, get people from Djibouti, South Sudan, etc. The language spoken over there is English. Though South Sudan has a population which speak Arabic, but there is also a population which speak English. So even the staff, period of time, those ones, the defense forces normally request people to register in areas near the place of work, not Ushago. It's where you work. If I work in Mtongwe, then I should register somewhere, whether Mtongwe or in the Mombasa County. It's just a request, it's not a must. Now, during that day of election, because you don't have ID cards, when you're going to register, ID cards from the headquarters, the defense headquarters, if you request, they're sent to you, then you go and register. During that day, if the amount of work, depending on the amount of work, then you're allowed in batches to go and vote. Not all of you in those areas, but there are people who request for passes. They request that I need something like 6 days pass, earlier than that.
So do you think at the policy level there is something that needs to be done to ensure that all the people working with our security forces exercise their right to vote? Because what you see is that the exercise of that right is contingent. It depends on the circumstances.
It depends on circumstances. Like if I'm going to be if I'll be an IEB commissioner, for example, and depending on the workload on that particular day, I may not have exercised my right to vote because I am registered in Mvita, and maybe I'll be working somewhere, or maybe an area where I'll be in charge.
So do you think, for example, each military barracks should be made a polling station?
It can, yes.
It can. And because people in the military answer to the president as their commander-in-chief, what do you think would happen if a particular barracks returns a negative vote for the CNC? You think there will be ugali?
There will be ugali and there will be everything, because you're exercising your political and civic rights to elect, and it's through secret ballot. Nobody is pointing a gun on you to vote.
Okay. With your experience with the Navy, perhaps we can have a conversation on something that is more familiar with you. Sometime in 2016, I was fortunate to take a cruise in the Sea of Japan, and I had a chance to speak to the captain when we had a turbulence. And I asked him, which is the worst situation you ever found yourself in? He said, no, none. My training is to ensure that I don't take my passengers into bad sea situations. And he said, there is no bad weather, there is bad dressing. And in the same manner, there are no bad conditions at sea, there is bad seamanship. Now, in your view, do you think there are circumstances that would justify a bad election on the part of the Commission? Are there circumstances that could happen such that the Commission can say, we are justified in conducting a bad election?
I don't think there's any justification in that, because IEBC has been created under from an article in the Constitution, Article 88. Then it has its own IEBC Act, and it also functions under that.
So you think that there would never come a day when we would excuse the Commission for undertaking a bad election? You think that day should never come, and the law does not allow them to undertake a bad election and to say it was not me, it were the circumstances?
I don't think so.
You don't think so? What would happen? I know you're not a lawyer, but what do you think would happen if there is generalized violence during an election? You know, a day before the election and on election day, there is generalized violence that makes it difficult for people to vote.
IEBC has started its preparation this phase for election. We have history of elections. 2022 is not the first election. We have history of elections before 2017, 2013 there, go back. IEBC is supposed to analyze the trend of these elections.
And prepare in advance.
Yes.
So I'm saying, suppose violence breaks out in a particular constituency and people cannot vote, people cannot get out of their houses, and there is suppression of majority of the voters or a sizable number of the voters. What would IEBC do? Can IEBC say, no, look, you know, our election was bad just because people decided to fight? Does IEBC have any options in law?
But as a military person, there are no wars which are fought because there's a conflict today and tomorrow we go on war. There must be preparation of actions which are there for you to know that there's going to be a war.
So what I'm saying, Colonel, is that you have prepared. You are a commissioner. You've prepared. You have anticipated every contingency. On voting day, you get a report that in a particular constituency, skirmishes are broken out, people cannot vote, there is fighting, and you are a commissioner. What would you do?
Well, we'll collaborate, because IEBC does not have any policing or enforcement powers.
They do, actually. They can actually postpone an election if circumstances demand. They don't have to carry out a bad election. But let's assume that, because you know, in every election, at every polling station, there are police officers.
Yes.
Who are sent there, and they are armed. You know that?
Yes.
They don't actually carry, pistols. They carry the long one that requires somebody else to be around you also. So they are visibly armed. Imagine a situation where an officer, in a hotly contested race, when people are on the queue, and an officer just fires in the air, indiscriminately, without any justification, and some of the people run away. And, there is a man who told me, if you hear the gunshot, just know you are not dead. So people run away and they don't vote. And then the outcome is that there is a very small margin. And somebody says, it's the police who caused this. If it is the police who caused disruption in a polling station, it is not IEBC, it is none of the candidates, whom would you blame in those circumstances? I mean, if I was aggrieved, whom do I proceed against?
You can petition the court.
IEBC says it was not me, it was the police.
Yeah, but they're losers and winners. If you're a loser, you can petition the court that we need to redo this.
Okay, just for information, every police officer designated to be at a polling station is immediately constituted an election official. They actually take instructions from IEBC. That's something you may need to note. Okay. Just one last question. In this room, you may be the only person who is acquainted with war. Our constitution says that the term of parliament may be extended and an election postponed accordingly if Kenya is at war. What is war?
War is a conflict, of violent conflict at the highest level, whereby it constitutes various actions. A war inside that war, we say that wars are fought at theater levels. Then there are operations, major operations, engagements, whereby these are at the lower level. Engagements, maybe a small band of people fighting with a small band of people.
Because of our time, I'm asking the definition of war with respect to this article of the Constitution that allows postponement, extension of the term of parliament if Kenya is at war. If Kenya is fighting Al-Shabaab, is that war for the purposes of postponement of an election?
You don't go to war with non-state actors. Majority of time, war is fought with state actors.
War is fought with state actors. So if there is an interior war, for example, two communities are fighting against each other, and the military is sent, the military can be sent even for internal conflicts.
Yes.
Would that constitute war for the purposes of postponement of an election?
No, that is not war.
But if Kenya is warring with Uganda over Migingo, and the fight is concentrated on that side, is that war?
Yeah, that is war.
That is war. That can justify.
Yes.
But is it just the aspect of Kenya being at war, or is it a question of the effects of the war and whether or not this war can affect an election? There are some wars that would not affect, the day-to-day lives of the people.
But remember that there is also a war chest, which means the economy will be directed to that war. So IEBC may not have the funding to conduct that election.
Okay, do you know for how long Parliament can extend its term under the Constitution?
6 months, then 1 year.
A maximum of 1 year.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Kano, and all the best. Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Kimuli. I'll now request Dr. F.S. Abdallah to ask you a few questions.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Colonel retired.
Yes, sir.
I would like to have a conversation rather than having questions. Right. Could you tell this panel when was your ROD?
My ROD was on 2nd of June, 2021.
And for
just last month only.
Right. For the benefit of this panel and Kenyans at large, what does ROD stands for?
It's the last day of your
running out date.
It's a running out date. It's the last day for you working.
When do you normally know when is your ROD? In military. Did you know?
Well, it is taken as a day before your birthday. That is the what it is ROD. If I'm born on 3rd of June, then my ROD is on 2nd. If I was born on 1st of January, my ROD was on 31st of December.
Right. So whilst you're serving, do you know when you're a major, when your ROD is, or how much time do you have before you know when your ROD is? What I'm trying to drive to is when you applied, you had not retired.
Yes.
But you knew when your ROD was, right?
Yes.
So when does military officers normally know when their ROD is?
The Kenya Defence Force is a very interesting organization, whereby people retire according to the ranks. You don't retire as a civil servants, where you say that it's 60 years. You have to serve until 60 years. Each rank has got its own retirement age. If that retirement age is about to happen, let's say next year, someone is given a notice, a letter, telling him that your ROD is this particular day, your leaves which you haven't taken, you'll have 3-month terminal leave and other leaves which you haven't taken. So it is calculated.
Okay. Now, thank you, Colonel. Now, you have been a naval military officer with 34 years experience, working under the highest discipline order and the military precision. Right. I have also noted in your CV that you are the Chief of Logistics in Juba. You have been directing staff and lecturer at Defence Staff College. You have also been a trainer at DHQ and served in many other positions. In your opinion, what added value can you bring in to IEBC if you are appointed a Commissioner of the IEBC? We've heard what you've done, but we've not heard as to how you could use those 34 years of military precision and disciplined working style into IEBC. Remembering that you're coming to the civilian world and it's not as good as a commander you can be, it may not work here. By the way, how do you find a good commander under your NDC trainings? Who is a good commander?
A commander comes from a concept of command. This is a position of authority and responsibility legally bestowed on a person over subordinates. Now, command has got two facets: leadership and management. Let's say, for example, you have a coin, attention in coin. You don't call it attention in coin, you call it a command coin. The head side is leadership, the other side is management. So these two, a commander must have these two. Leadership, you need to influence people. A commander must have personality and character. He must have vision. While on the other side, when you look at the management part of it, we look at it as a allocation of resources and control of those resources.
Okay. So, Colonel, thank you for that. Tell me, those command tactics or training you've had and the other ones, in your opinion, how will that be useful or value added to IEBC if you are nominated or appointed as one of the commissioners of the IEBC?
If I'll be nominated as a commissioner, people look at me as an outsider because I'm coming from the military. You've heard people say the person has come to militarize, but we don't do that. The training part of it, on administration, training on discipline, training on doing work with precision, that's what we do. We don't force people to do that. Example, when you look at we have an institution at Athi River whereby the same staff is there, but the leadership. So the only thing they have come over there is directing them the way what the legal framework does, what other things are supposed to do. So when I'll be there, I might look at it in a different way, in a military point of view, that we need to do things in a precision way. We need to have discipline, because majority of organizations they lack a lot of discipline, and that's how they go down. For example, now, if you know that this is the head of a particular organization, then there's a chain of command from that head of organization downwards, that directions are coming from this particular entity going down. And there are also information flowing from down upward, and there are also information flowing laterally. So what I'm going to bring is the discipline part of it, the way of doing things in a precision way, analytic part of it, etc. Collaboration with other, because you need to have, IEBC cannot work alone. It needs to have inter-commission collaboration and coordination. It needs inter-agencies collaboration and coordination early enough, not towards the election.
Right. Thank you, Colonel. Of course, the militarization, we've heard it about NMS, we've heard it, the blue economy, that the country's been militarized. That, of course, I'm sure with what the outcome has been appreciated. The question is, yes, the notion is the military guys are hard to deal with, and they've got a set mind. So this is the question: are you able to adopt? And in the event you have the differences with your other commissioners, what do we expect? Do we expect military tactics or compromising an approach?
When you move out from the military, you need to be adaptable. Adaptable to the environment you're in, just like a chameleon. You need to learn other people. You need to, when you say that this is, I'm result oriented, what about the others? Are they result oriented? Can they work under pressure? You can work under pressure. Can they work under pressure? So there need be a dialogue, a kind of an understanding that we are working together. There need to have an esprit de corps, that we are working as a team. You're not working as enemies, that I'm from here or from there.
So from what I hear, you are really psyched to have this change of attitude towards your positions.
Yes, in fact, I stay outside with civilians. I don't stay inside the barracks all this time.
Right. So in that case, can you tell us the job you're applying for at the IEBC? What are the functions of IEBC, from your understanding?
Article 88 and Article 89 talks of the responsibility of IEBC, whereby this is where the IEBC gets its mission. IEBC is responsible for conducting or supervising referenda and elections. That's the most important part.
True.
The second one is continuous registration of voters, regular review of voters' roll. Then you have a delimitation of constituencies and wards. You have regulation of political parties' nomination process. You have a regulation of amount of money spent by candidates and political parties during election. Then you have registration of candidates during election. You have to develop code of conduct, facilitating observers, monitors and evaluators, have monitoring of compliance with the legislation, and all that.
Right. You talked about the code of conduct, right, for the staff. The number one of the code of conduct for the staff is impartiality and independence of members, right? I'll read it for you. Every member and employee of the Commission shall impartially and independently perform the function of the Commission in good faith and without fear, favor, or prejudice, and without influence from A, any arm of the government, B, any state officer, C, any public officer, D, any political party, E, candidate participate in election or any other authority or organization. The question is, being an ex-military officer, will it be possible for you to abide to these regulations? What I mean, the military precision and discipline has always and will always remain there. Do you feel in the event that one of the senior officers ask you for a favor or for something, not, trying to misuse you, right? That's a normal thing. What will be your reaction to this?
In the military, we say that we follow lawful orders.
So you follow what?
We follow lawful orders.
Lawful orders, right.
If you follow any order, then you are liable for prosecution or even court-martial. Because we do have a KDF Act or the AFA Act, now it's changed to KDF Act. Now, and there are regulations, that is a legal framework which is there.
Very well. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. All the best, Colonel. Thank you,
sir.
Thank you so much, Dr. Abdallah. I'll now request Mr. Gideon Solonka to ask you a few questions, Mr. Saeed.
Thank you, Chair. Colonel, we have COVID-19 as the elephant in the room now. And against that backdrop, some countries have adopted special voting arrangements, which in fact has led to the enfranchisement of voters. A case in mind is South Korea. In their 2021 elections, they recorded the highest voter turnout in 3 decades. And some of the special arrangements included early voting, mobile voting, additional electoral days, opening of more voting centers, postal voting, and online voting. Now, if you become the IEBC Commissioner and IEBC were to adopt such methodologies, what measures will you put in place to mitigate risks involved? Do you think those special arrangements can work in Kenya?
Those arrangements at the moment, I don't think they are feasible in Kenya at the moment, but they can work. If whatever we have now have problems, we need to sort out this problem now instead of bringing more problems from outside. Because if there was a problem in transmission of results from the polling station to the headquarters, what if now someone is sending through the post office? How will you say that this is the person who voted, not another one? And the laws wants, at the moment, it wants you to produce an ID for you to be identified before you vote, plus the others, the BVR and etc. Now it cannot work, but later it might work when we have sorted what we have at the moment. We don't rush at things because other people are rushing. If you have a vehicle which is mechanical, or maybe with gears, then later on someone wants to bring a car which is automatic. Yes, you can bring that car with automatic gear, but do you have people who can maintain it?
So, Colonel, if I'm getting you right, should the COVID situation get worse, and God forbid, you're saying that we should postpone our elections?
I think IBC has put some protocols now. I think I saw booklets concerning that. Last week or so, there was elections. There were elections, one in Juja, Muguga, and other areas, whereby people are following protocols.
What were these protocols? Maybe you'll tell us, and tell us in your assessment if people are following them.
They were not following.
Were they following?
No, they were not following. This is
So there
protocol
was a
of
risk
here.
of...
This is a protocol of over here. The chairperson is there, you are there. 1 meter away, there is a Dr. Abdallah. I'm more than 1 meter from Mr. Kimilu. There is hand sanitizer, etc. But with our elections and the way we do things, you know, when people go and queue, and you queue for a long time, you go over there at 6 o'clock, by 9 or 10 o'clock you're still there, you get tired, you tend to move forward. But that's how it is.
So we cannot conduct safe elections during COVID-19. This is what you're saying?
No, we will conduct. We will conduct.
Okay.
With protocols. We try to follow the protocols.
Okay. Now let's move to another one. What is the role of a county returning officer in an election? County returning officer.
At the county level, you find there is a governor seat, the senator seat, and the woman member of parliament. That is, all these three have to be elected by people in all polling stations and all wards and all constituencies. So the county election returning officer is the one who's going to say who won to be the governor, the senator, or the woman member of parliament.
By what means?
The polling station sent results from the polling station, centers on what each senator got, or candidates of senator got, or each candidate of governor got, or the woman rep got. So they'll bring all the polling stations results and tally them, add them. Then they'll know who won, who lost. And there are agents over there who are supposed to follow that.
Okay. Thank you. And who is an agent?
Level or the county level, that things are done as per what has been discussed or what is in the law.
Okay. What about in a referendum? We have agents?
Yes, you have agents. Those ones who says no, and others who are saying yes, must have the agents over there.
Okay. And these agents in a referendum, who appoints them?
I think it's the committee concerned about the referendum on that particular, whether it's a yes or a no.
Thank you. What do you understand by the term public resources?
Sorry?
Public resources.
It's resources which fall under the, what you call, government resources or the people's resources. Let's say public resources of Kenya. These are people resources because the money used for that, the money paying that person is from the public. So if it's someone, it's also a public resource. If it's an equipment, it's a public resource.
Like what? Just give examples. Don't be too general. You can give us an example of what a public resource is.
A public resource could be a vehicle, equipments like technology equipments, other transport, helicopters, aircrafts, etc. But a resource does not only, it doesn't, you don't look at resources as only equipments. Time is also a resource. that this a person who has come out from a government office has stolen time, which is supposed to commit that time doing his work at a government office or public office. So a resource could be time, it could be people, it could be equipments.
That one is a new one. It's your new definition.
It's not a new definition. When you analyze, we also analyze time also.
Okay. What about election material?
These are materials used during election. Example,
Like, yes.
ballot boxes,
Yeah.
ballot papers, forms used by the IEBC fellas. Even vehicles can also be election materials.
Okay. What about information technology equipment?
It is.
Okay.
It is in the general of equipments. I'm sorry for looking at equipment. I'm not looking at the technologies.
Okay. Thank you, Colonel Retired.
Thank you, sir.
I wish you all the best.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Solonka. I'll now request Madam Elizabeth Mayo to ask you a few questions.
Thank you, Chair. How are you, Mr. Saeed?
Thank you, ma'am. How are you doing, sir?
How should I address you?
Yes,
Mr. or
address me as Saeed.
Saeed, eh? Okay, thanks. So, Saeed, I want to refer you to the case study you actually undertook on 30th of June. You are in this room. You remember?
Yes, yeah.
Okay. So, on voter education, you rightfully identified that there was inadequate voter education, and you gave various proposals, solutions to the challenges, how you feel voter education can be fixed. So one of the challenges with the proposals, you said that the commission to be presented with timelines, then there should be strategies given to the commission, then the budget for the voter education should also be provided, and the commission should have authorized the strategies before they are implemented, and there should be a surcharge to the contractor if the person contracted to carry out voter education, if it was inadequately done. You gave that as your proposal. So if you are appointed as commissioner, kindly tell this panel how you will implement these proposals. They are your proposals to the challenge which was cited in the case study. So how will you implement them? Because we want practical aspects of what somebody can do to improve on the processes.
The commission has 5 years. It's a cycle of 5 years. And they know that there's the 3 phases. During the pre-election phase, they have time. The commission, it's unfortunate that even voter education is only done prior to elections. I don't think there's any place which says that voter education cannot be done after election.
In your response, you said the commission should be presented with timelines. Who should present the commission with timelines, and what timelines were you looking at?
What I meant over there is the commission should have a timeline to do that.
Okay.
A timeline for the voter education. No timeline of voter education during, prior to elections. There must, education is continuous. It should not start from somewhere and stop at a particular time. It is continuous. So if it's the same process of continuous registration of voters, there should also be continuous voter education.
Okay.
So this time, we know that the funding is a problem. So they must have those timelines. Like they say that you should not have that 1 week of informing or educating people, maybe last month only. What about the other years? Because elections are continuous. There are people who vacate offices because of death or because of courts and all that. So this voter is supposed to be educated. So there must be those timelines the IEBC is supposed to have, not timelines only prior to election. That's what I meant.
Okay, thank you. You also talked of strategies. So in your view, what strategies do you think you can put in place to address this challenge which you identified?
IEBC has got strategies. They have those seminars, workshops, strategies like education starting with secondary schools, etc. These are part of the strategy so that that young man or young woman who comes from school do understand. Because if that young man or young woman is taught about family, he or she is taught about rights, why can't he or she also be taught about his or her rights on election?
Okay.
And the rights of electing a good leader. Ili tunasema kiongozi bora sio bora kiongozi. So this one has to be taught during that time.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Saeed. You also talked of surcharge. So for surcharge, it means that if the work was not done as per your expectation, I'm right?
Yes.
Yes. What will you put in place to ensure that the strategies which you developed and should be implemented are implemented according to your plan? Such that if you are surcharging this contractor, you are telling the contractor, yes, in Isiolo, you did a shoddy job. So what will you put in place?
Well, first of all, you need to investigate, because this is a report from external actors, which was brought in for you to understand. And they said that you need to do your own analysis internally. And in your analysis, there are so many factors which you look into. You look, when you investigate, because when this contractor comes over there, it means he has to sign somewhere what he or she is supposed, or that company is supposed to do. If that company does not do, there must be a clause somewhere there that either he or she repeats, or you're not going to pay everything. If normally you only pay, maybe depending, you're not going to pay the full amount of money to that contractor. So there could be a request that contractor redo it if there is a time for voter education.
Mr. Salim, remember, when you are paying this contractor, you'll be using taxpayers' money. Yeah?
Yes.
And when you are using taxpayers' money, you should only use it when the contractor has done what you contracted them to do. So what I'm asking you, what will you put in place to ensure that the contractor is doing the right thing everywhere in the country?
Monitoring.
Yeah.
I think there's a directorate over there for voter education in the IEBC. I think they do the monitoring part of it, of all these contractors. And if they don't do whatever they're supposed to do, then...
No, I'm asking you, now you as a commissioner, don't say they, say this is what I will do as Salim when appointed.
I have to monitor them, that they're doing the correct thing. Though, at a commissioner level, you don't look down over there, you are at policy level. So, but you also monitor the activities down there. It doesn't mean that if you're in the policy level, you leave everything to be done by other people. They could do their own things. So you need to monitor.
So you'll have a monitoring and evaluation framework in place, yeah? So let's go to the next question. So the next question is, police officers play an integral role in the election process. You agree with me?
Yes.
Yeah. They keep order at the registration and polling stations and ensure the protection of facilities and materials. However, there have also been concerns of voter intimidation, which is a form of voter suppression. What do you think about this?
Voter suppression by the police officers.
Voter intimidation.
Suppression by the police officers.
Yeah.
If that police officer is in a particular polling station, like Mr. Kimoli says, that is an election official. All these election officials are supposed to be under the presiding officers.
Okay.
So the presiding officer is not, he is supposed to look at the performance of the people under him and the equipments which he or she has. So if this police officer is intimidating, then he should be told that what you're doing is not the correct thing.
Okay.
And if he continues with that, the presiding officer will report to the constituency level. Then I think the police officers in charge of that person may be told maybe to change him.
Okay. So let me take you to the just recently concluded Kiamba by-elections. It was reported by the media that there were allegations by a political party that chiefs and other government administration officers were present at polling stations. Should they be present at polling stations? And what do you think about that?
I also heard about that.
You heard about it? Now tell us.
Well, chiefs and other government officials are not supposed to be there. They are not supposed to be there. Who are supposed to be there is only agents and polling officials. So what is he doing over there? If he's not a registered voter, he's not a voter. If he's there, he is there because that he's coming over there to vote. He doesn't have any work over there. The work at the polling station belongs to IEBC, not to the chief. The chief should go and look at other places, at maybe outside the polling stations. That is the jurisdiction. That is out of bounds for the chiefs. Just like when you have an embassy, it's out of bounds for people from outside. If the chief comes over there and with his uniform and talks with people, what does he show the government is doing? It's wrong. So I think it should be reported.
Okay.
To his senior.
It was reported
To his senior.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Mr. Salim.
Even IEBC can also enforce that.
Thank you. Yeah, you just told us when you were answering Mr. Solonka that as state officer, the people can also be state resources.
Yes.
Yeah. So from what I've just told you, and you also heard from the media, the presence of the assistant chiefs and the chiefs at the polling station, can you take it that state resources were used during the polling?
But it all depends. Was he sent over there by the government, or did he send himself over there?
Yeah, we want you to tell us.
Because the chief is bringing two scenarios. He has come over there as a chief of that particular area, and he sees that his favorite candidate is maybe losing. Now he wants to influence the voters. Otherwise, maybe he saw that maybe the other opposition candidate was gaining from the voters, or he would have been sent. But why should he be sent in a particular place like that, where there is media? Because that is a media is the one which broadcasted it to other people. Even me, I heard about it.
So you are also wondering why they were there, yeah?
Yes.
Okay, so let's move to the next one. Yeah, I've gotten your answer. The Ministry of Interior and Coordination of National Government is a key stakeholder to the IEBC, especially in terms of looking at security risks. Yeah? How would you ensure that you have a smooth working relationship with this arm of the government